It's fine. It's fine.
It's muted?
No. It's not muted.
Why's the red light on if it's not muted?
Because it's got power.
Oh. It shouldn't have mute on top of it.
If it's flushing, it's muted.
Oh, please.
This is the best opening
I want to push the big red button.
I didn't do anything.
I want to push the big red button.
It won't do anything unless it's... Okay.
This is giving Josh time to get everything set up.
All right.
Do we have the metronome marked out?
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of... Hey.
Sorry, he just had to hear the metronome.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of GenCon and the gaming capital of the world, this is The Established Facts. Welcome to another episode of The Established Facts. This is our official post-GenCon episode. We have just left the convention center. We are sitting across the street at the Westin downtown Indianapolis. And we would like to kind of give you guys a review of how we felt about the con in general. So I'm going to go ahead and start to my left. And we'll go around the table and introduce everyone who's here.
Hey guys, this is Derek.
This is Josh.
This is Dr. Deb.
This is Lance.
This is Ragaar, a.k.a. Jeremy.
This is KJ.
This is Avital.
This is Matt.
This is Josh Prime.
And I, of course, am your host, Big Don. So, I'm going to go ahead and start in reverse order. And everybody kind of give me their, we'll say, favorite game for the weekend. So, Prime.
Pathfinder Society.
They have a title?
That's pretty generic.
Pathfinder.
What do you not remember?
That's even more
Do you not remember
generic.
the name of the game?
Horn of...
Oh, that sounds like a fantastic game.
Bless you.
Horn of...
Something about horns. I don't know.
Matt?
Oh, no.
Has a few umlauts in it.
Yeah.
We're all destroyed now.
My favorite was sitting down and learning how to play the new Sentinels of the Multiverse Vengeance.
All right.
Nice.
The thing that you're laying out right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you play it at the actual booth?
I did.
Demoed it there? Very cool. Very cool. Avital?
I think probably my favorite game was the Pathfinder special on Friday night. The season 5 closer, season 6 opener.
Legacy of the Stone Lords.
The Stone Lord.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And did you play with anybody that you
Yes.
knew?
The table was full of people that I knew.
Very cool.
We made sure of
KJ?
that.
Several people here.
My favorite game was Werewolf.
Yeah?
Yeah. There was... We had a moderator dressed as Tony Stark.
Nice.
Yes.
Did you play all weekend or did you just play one night?
I played 2 days.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So you had a good time?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Jeremy?
Even though I did like 40 hours of Starship Troopers this year,
Yeah.
Did you play anything else?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I snuck into a couple games with the guys I was rooming with this year. And that's actually the one that I'm going to say is my favorite, is Horror of the Rope Ghost. It was a Mist Runner game. The style of gameplay was really interesting. I was kind of like a rogue character, a dragon, I guess, and had tons and tons of mana. Magic, essence that I could use, and the versatility of the spells in that system are based entirely on your ability of creativity. If you can think it and it's related to your element, you can do it. It's just a matter of how much does it cost and what's the role for control and conjuration. It was a neat system.
Very, very cool. So, about your Starship Troopers game.
Which one?
Are you afraid that because you've played so much now, you might have developed PTSD for cockroaches?
Cockroaches? No. No.
No.
Warrior bugs? No.
No.
No. Blister bugs, fortunately, they didn't ever have a chance to attack.
Oh, okay.
The tank bug never came at me. And we didn't lose anybody.
Nice.
Nobody in my squad. There's a lot of grunts that were thrown into the fray.
You know, they don't count anyway.
But our group's losses were at 50%, and the average was more about 80%. So we did really well.
All right. Very cool.
We veteranized half of the unit.
Lance?
Look at KJ's face.
What just happened?
Never seen Starship.
I really enjoyed the instant game show. I thought that was a really neat idea.
Did you get to participate?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
They asked the crowd a Val Kilmer movie quote from an early 80s movie. And I was probably one of 5 people that were alive during that time that were in the audience.
Right.
The rest being parents of younger kids.
Of course.
So I got to participate, actually got to play and win a prize.
Very cool. What'd you win?
GenCon water bottle.
Nice. Very cool. A little bit of swag.
Swag.
All right. Deb?
So, well, Avital already took one, so I'm going to take another one. Pathfinder Society special on Friday was fantastic. But a completely different note, I played a Mayfair game during my Mayfair time called Lords of Vegas and loved it. We were going to go back today and get it with my 50% off coupon, but it was already sold out. So apparently everyone agrees that that game was awesome. So I'm going to have to buy it in the near future. But it was a very, very fun board game. So
Is that the game that you play where you're kind of like you run a casino or something? Like you're trying to edge everybody else.
And you're trying to edge
out?
everyone else out of the casino.
Okay.
Yeah, there's strategy to it. There's some money management to it. There's randomness to it because of the way cards are drawn. So it's got a lot of different elements to it that you have to be able to juggle to be able to win the game. And I really like that. And I helped the lady at my table. I played it. And then I liked it so much, I wanted to keep going, but I said, can I just be the banker? You can have all new players, but can I just be the banker so I can keep watching and learn more of the game? She said, yeah, sure. And she had to leave, go to use the restroom. She came back and she's like, I know you didn't play too, but you really helped me out. And so I got an extra ribbon for just sitting there and helping her out.
Very cool.
Got to build a ribbon for it. So
There you go. All right. Joshy?
Well, Legacy of Stone Lords was a lot of fun, and we did get to play test Munchkin Panic. But honestly, this year's True Dungeons were both really good, and I got to go do the first one with my wife, which was a lot of fun. And
I survived.
And then on Friday, Don, Lance, and Lance's wife Vanessa, and myself all did the combat-oriented Into the Viper's Pit dungeon, and it was a close
good.
call, and it was really good.
It was good. We only
Except
had
our
one.
team didn't work exactly the greatest together.
Well,
But
yeah.
other than that, it went relatively well. We solved all the puzzles, which we did not do during Deb and I's game. That's true. Donald, who came in as the elf wizard and became a bard. So the True Dungeons probably got. I was smiling after each one.
Oh, yeah.
I survived, but even if I had died, it was good enough for me all the way to the final point that I would have been happy.
And the next set of campaigns that they're going to be running are in the Underdark.
Yes, they
I
are.
know they
Which
are.
is my favorite setting.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about those. And I think, to the chagrin of my wife, I think I might actually have to set aside the $100 that it's probably going to cost me to play in both of them next year at True Dungeon. So
Well,
I'm not even looking over there. 'Cause
No,
I'm
he's-
afraid.
Well, I want to play the True Dungeon too, but we'll get
All
to that
right.
in a
Well, we
minute.
won't tell Bonnie.
We'll keep going. Yeah, because she can't hear us.
How did you end up going from an elf?
She didn't actually change
No, I didn't
characters.
actually change classes.
Okay.
But I was playing an elf wizard. We didn't have a bard because, I mean, you know,
We didn't.
what would a bard be used for other than solving the puzzles throughout the dungeon? So we got into the first room and
You just memorized all of the things?
I innately am a puzzle solver. I enjoy doing puzzles, and so when I have gone and done the True Dungeon on my own, I usually choose the puzzle side versus the combat side. Mm-hmm. But when I go with friends, I usually kind of cater to whatever everybody else likes to do. But the nice thing is they always throw in a couple puzzles during True Dungeon, and so in the first room of True Dungeon they had, or in the
Spoiler.
Viper's Pit, they had.
Not really,
they had
done.
these
They're
pillars.
done.
Yeah, they're done now. They had these pillars that you had to turn, and there were letters on all four sides of the pillars. And depending on which direction you were standing in, to see the pillars and the letters on the pillars, there were 4 words that you had to spell out. And I'm trying to remember. It was something about.
Bowed, godly glyph.
Touch, bowed, godly glyph.
Or bowed, touch, godly glyph,
Whatever.
I think is what
Yeah.
it was. Which
Anyway, so but yeah, there were a set of 6 different animal glyphs, and of course, being in the Viper's Pit, it's like, oh, okay, well, it's the snake.
You bow down and you
obviously.
touch the snake.
And the next one was we were in a room that had a bunch of eggs, and it said, starting from the center and essentially spiraling out. You
Thanks
had
to a hint from the rope. Vanessa.
Yeah. You had to solve this puzzle, and essentially it was like the party in general was having a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to actually activate the puzzle, and I was like, well, if you start here, then you just go, this way around the outside. And
He
He indicated a spiral motion for those
Yeah,
of you not being able to see
Exactly,
this
sorry,
audio
yeah.
podcast.
So you followed the Golden Brick Road?
Yes, definitely. Well, it was the purple and green egg
Yeah,
road.
it was
but yeah.
magnetically controlled. You touch the center one, and a certain
It
set
changed
changed
colors,
And
and
if you
by the
spiral
time you
out,
got all the way to the outside, all the eggs turned the same color.
Neat.
then you hit the gong, and then it's like, oh, you solved the puzzle, yay.
And we got a treasure.
Yeah, I think I took 6 points of damage in that room. That took 4,
Yeah,
and
the next
rogue
room
took 2,
was-
because the rogue was like, oh, what happens when you do this?
Yeah, the next room was the worst one. We fought the zombies were horrible.
Yes,
because
yes.
they were easy to kill, but they just kept coming. Like you kill them, and then they come
Yeah.
back in another wave, and it was
We had to
just,
destroy the crypt.
yeah, it had to destroy the crypt, and it was really annoying. But like Josh said, we survived and we won. So anyhow, Derek.
My favorite game was called Return to Adams County. It's a bunnies and burrows system from like long time ago.
In a galaxy far away.
And
In a galaxy far
Far,
away.
far away.
Far away.
We played bunnies in and we had to rescue animals from an animal testing facility.
Like you do.
like you do.
Yeah, we would die quick. And
What kind of animals were they that you died so quickly?
well, no, we could have. But it's apparently a very deadly system because you're bunnies. But we had to get through a Rottweiler. We had to
You had to get through a Rottweiler?
buy it. Yeah, we
Oh,
had to buy it.
okay.
And
Through it.
not
You had to outsmart a Rottweiler as a
Maneuver.
bunny.
yes,
Oh.
and I did.
Woo! Go bunny go.
We disguised ourselves as a half bunny, half wolf creature, and we convinced him that it was the case. We rescued the animals, which were like baboons and dogs and cats and stuff like that, and then the baboons drove while I pushed the pedals, the man vehicle, and we started at one end and did the pedal to the metal, jumped over a river, and escaped that way.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sounds like an acid trip.
It was an acid trip and a half.
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
family friendly.
Actually, this one was.
All right.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yes.
I would have to say probably my favorite game. I didn't get a lot of gaming in this year, but I did get to demo a couple games today, and one of them was the new Realms Unraveled Ascension set. It's the new principal set from Stoneblade, and I actually got to play one. I played with three people, one of which had only ever played Ascension one time, and the other two had never played. and actually one of the ones that had never played, it was his first time at GenCon. And I sat down and they were like, "Do you know how to play this game?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like Ascension is my game." And so I got a chance to kind of help show them how to play and demo it, and we played to 40 points, and I didn't win, but I mean, I don't think that, winning is not necessarily everything that it's cracked up to be, and I enjoy having a good time with new gamers, especially people who are brand new to Gen Con. And I would have to say that was probably my favorite game that I played throughout the weekend. I got a chance to run the Universal Storytelling System, and I had a really good time with that. Met a lot of really fun people, and overall, I think that there were a lot of really cool events that went on. I did notice, and I had a lot of people telling me that they felt like there were a lot more people here at Gen Con this year than there have been in the past.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't feel like
feel that
that.
way at all.
Yeah,
It didn't feel like that. Like, it felt like there were probably, I don't know if maybe they had kind of figured out a really good way to space everything out.
That's what
Yeah,
I think it is.
I think it is,
Obviously,
too.
the exhibit hall is still busy, and so you're going to have traffic jams. You have to deal with that.
But
But
they
in
expanded
general,
into A, B, and C this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I
They
think-
also really enforced or tried to enforce lines.
yeah, like they had a lot of really. The organization this year and the traffic flow in general and the amount of people, I expect that they probably had quite a few people that were here, more so than last year. But I don't know. It felt kind of strange because I was expecting, that just mad mob of people that it feels like you always have, but it felt a lot smoother this year for some reason than it has in the past, and I really appreciate that. But go ahead, Lance.
It seemed to me also that at least the first section, the first section of the selling area, they widened the aisles just a little bit. Maybe not so much in the indie gamers area, but in the established games area, it seemed like a lot more people were getting through, because that's usually where people get trapped up.
Right.
And that didn't happen at
Yeah.
all.
And then Paizo had that, wacky line.
It was
asked him
wacky,
about
but
that.
it worked.
Yeah, I asked them about it. Last year, they got a lot of grief when the adventure card game released because they had a line wrapped all the way around their booth and into other booths.
Yeah.
So Paizo, in response, talked to Gen Con and said, "Can we put our line outside? Because we don't want to be that neighbor." We
Oh,
don't
that's
want-
okay. I
So-
saw that, but I didn't
Yeah.
know what it was for.
Yeah,
So.
they said, we know that because they were releasing the new Skull and Shackles adventure card game. They said we are expecting a high demand for this. Do you mind if we put the line out back? We'll have volunteers out there to talk with people, so they're not just sitting there doing
Yeah.
anything, alone. But that we don't want to be the neighbor that clogs up the aisleways like Aiella was this year.
Which, I mean, last year they weren't, so it's not
Right.
necessarily something that they would expect.
Right, but it was, they said that. They said that was their statement, is that they did not want to upset the nearby vendors because they wanted to be able to work together with these guys.
cool.
And I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And that line was the same size.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Almost all weekend. I finally saw them take down the ropes
Yeah.
one time yesterday on Saturday. So
Yeah.
that's why.
And that's why we should all go back to the previous podcast and listen to
Tracy
Tracy Hickman's
Hickman.
idea
Oh, yeah.
how to
Yes.
resolve lines.
Yes.
So, as far as improvements for this year, we kind of talked about a little bit of what we saw, but in general, did anybody see anything else that they really felt like Gen Con had really taken it upon themselves to address from previous years that just felt like it was a lot cleaner executed?
Yes, actually, the entrance to the exhibit hall, the CEO and the number 2 for Gen Con came out and did a little PR thing for everybody who's sitting there waiting. And the things they really wanted to focus on were, one, if you're a veteran, welcome back, welcome home. And if this is your first time, veterans, look at those people and tell them welcome home. They wanted to make this, build that sense
Establish
of
that community.
And also, they really enforce that whole cosplay does not mean consent.
Right. Yeah.
That's been an ongoing issue, and I'm glad that they're actually stepping out and making a conscious effort to stress how important it is not to overstep your boundary.
Yeah. Debbie?
I don't know if this was last year. Someone's going to have to help me, but they had the will call open at Wednesday at noon. And so my husband and I were able to go in there and, let's put it this way. We attempted to go in there and we tried to get some stuff Wednesday at noon. It was a little interesting because he had a press badge, so we had a little bit of an adventure there. But opening a Wednesday at noon I thought was rather brilliant because then at least you got, and they were open 24 hours, which was amazing. 24 hours until whenever they finally closed on Sunday. So I thought that was brilliant because, I know that it probably took a lot more staff to do that, but we came on Wednesday to be able to avoid it, the ridiculous lines we've talked about before. So I think they need to continue to make that a 24-hour thing because maybe you've got a third shifter who can't come in until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, but who wants to be able to get that. They could actually do that. So I thought that was a good logistical decision on their part.
I think, and this will kind of get me into my next question, but kind of thinking on things for next year that we feel like they might be able to improve. I feel like, though I really appreciate everything that they've done inside the exhibit hall for the convention, one thing that I think is just always going to be an issue until somebody's able to build an establishment or something like that will fix this issue. But I feel like parking. If you live close or if you drive in or something like that, parking is always a little bit of an issue. It's kind of something that we all have to deal with. And I know that this year they had, was it Indigo? It wasn't Indigo, the actual.
Oh, the shuttle buses.
Yeah, there was a shuttle bus company that usually does shuttling to the airport, but they essentially rented out their services to GenCon in the convention center, and they had shuttles going to and from hotels pretty much all over the place.
They had to because GenCon had to expand into the suburban hotels.
Yeah,
because there was no zero room.
Right, because they sold out all their housing blocks for the primary hotels downtown within, I think it was a matter of
17 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Is that like 9 months out, 17 minutes?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
like, hey, the housing block's now open.
They released
Hey,
the housing blocks in
now
November,
closed.
and
So that's really awesome. I hate to make that a complaint because it's really not a complaint. But I feel like what I would like to see GenCon do is maybe set up some sort of system with a lot of the parking garages and things like that where you can buy a week-long parking pass from them at a premium price, because I'm telling you what, some of the garages downtown, it's like, and this is probably not a very big complaint in other cities like Chicago and stuff like that where it costs an arm and a leg to park. But spending $20 a day, $25 a day on parking after you've spent $70 on your pass, and then potentially, it does.
Yeah,
it does.
Especially if you're trying to
it is
bring
an
your family
expense,
to
and
it.
especially if you're coming from out of town,
Right.
and you're also staying in a hotel. Now, a lot of hotels have valet parking, but then you're still talking $25-$30 a night.
38 at JW.
At the
Marriott.
JW.
Right,
Marriott.
which is kind of the JW and Conrad are going to be the highest price as far as valet parking. But my point is, it would be really nice to have, maybe a large rented lot or a building, like a parking garage or something like that, rented out. Or even if
warehouses nearby.
or what's that? Yeah,
Set
an
of
empty
one-
warehouse.
yeah.
Well, and there's a company, Denizen, does the parking for most of the garages downtown. If GenCon set something up through Denizen and said, hey, we're going to add a package just like housing, just like your events,
parking
where you can buy a parking pass for GenCon, and it's one premium price. Even if it's $40,
Still would be,
what'd you say? Yeah,
Totally worth
it's
it.
still worth it, and then you're not getting a parking ticket for parking outside or whatever. So
I will say this about Denison. I actually used to do parking enforcement for them. The meters downtown here, like you're just here for the nightly events, like for example the dance party at
yeah,
the station.
it starts at 9 or whatever.
Yeah, I think you can actually get free parking. I think it's either after 7 p.m. or
It's
9
9.
p.m.
It's after 9. Yeah.
So.
If you can find a parking meter.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, because and like something that we have had to obviously adjust to over the last few years is, as GenCon grows and as Indianapolis grows, its attention towards pop culture, comics, gaming, things like that are becoming mainstream. You also have to recognize that there are still established things that go on in the city that are not those things. For example, this year we had a Colts game. It's a preseason game, so you probably only get 30-40% of the capacity that you would normally get for a regular home game. But that's still another 20,000 people you're sticking downtown right across the street from the convention center where there are already 50 to 60,000 people hanging out. And so it creates what may potentially, with the growth of the convention and things like that, become a little bit of a logistical problem in traffic.
They did do one thing smart though. MotoGP got pushed up.
Yeah, well, I think that was MotoGP's decision, was to say, you know what, we're tired of coming to Indianapolis and not having hotel rooms. So they moved it up. They moved it up an entire week. So
Good decision.
Mistake last year.
yeah, and the year before. The year before was their big one.
Yeah.
And GenCon got asked about the timing of GenCon, and I know that I saw Josh Marter over there had made a comment on Facebook. They were asked if they had negotiated or talked with the Colts at all about making sure the GenCon doesn't occur during a preseason game, and I guess GenCon's statement was the only way we could do that is if we scheduled it 1 year in advance, and right now we're scheduled 5 years in advance.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we had to wait every year to announce when GenCon's going to be,
Yeah.
it would be a nightmare for them. They'd rather have, especially if they're going to have like these contracts worked out with the hotels. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
for the next 3 or 5 years, we need 100 rooms at such and such rate if possible. It's a lot easier for them to schedule out. The other side of that was they were asking about expansion, which was one of the things I wanted to kind of address. They've been asked about expanding into Lucas Oil. There is there's an area, I guess, below Lucas Oil that has some conference rooms and stuff where some of the stuff could go
That's
on.
where a lot of the media.
The reason why is just that same reason. They have to know
Yeah, if the
every
Colts
year
play.
if the Colts are playing,
Right.
and they don't want to plan for Lucas Oil and then a preseason game get announced.
Right.
So. It's something they could seriously consider. I mean, the 50th is in 3 years. We've talked about this. It is
Yeah,
something.
2017.
So it's something they may be able to utilize. That I don't know, but
Well, and something that they, if you look at the schedule for GenCon, the next 2 years it's a lot earlier than it has been in the
Yeah.
previous.
Yeah.
But then
Next year it's at the end of July, July 30th, 31st, and then the 1st and 2nd of August.
It's very early.
The year after that, it's the first weekend in August, and then the 50th anniversary, it's the second or third weekend. It's the second weekend of August.
Right.
So
I don't know what Indianapolis is going to do for the 50th.
I do. It's going to become equivalent to the Super Bowl.
it is.
They're going to have to shut it down.
Yeah.
You're talking, the Lucas Oil Stadium holds approximately 65,000 people. That's about what they would have here for attendees for the Super Bowl. 70,000 people for GenCon.
In sheer numbers of people.
And just people. Yeah.
My is not that, but what the city will do, because the city shut down blocks
Yeah.
for that. Will
Well,
they
but
still
they-
do that for Gen Con?
I think so. Considering it's what is it, the second highest grossing convention that Indianapolis has.
Period.
With
Period.
With the NRA.
NRA being the first one.
And not only that, we're the highest dollar per capita.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of financial impact,
Yeah.
we are almost equivalent to the entire season of basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
They said that
For 4 days.
The NRA
Five,
convention
but-
made this city $56 million, and Gen Con made them 50.
50. That was last year.
That was
We
last
don't know
year.
what the math is this year.
But the expansion-wise, you made mention of it. I going back to that. The expanding into C, B, and A.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I state that because I almost feel bad for Drew Dungeon, but even Drew Dungeon was like, no, we still have plenty of room.
Oh, yeah.
Because they put all of Drew Dungeon in Hall
In A.
An A.
which is a lot of room, and they had both dungeons and the small adventures running without any issues over there, and the board game room was just massive. between
Goodness.
board games and card games. They took up
Tournaments.
4 exhibit halls, and then all of the sales area took up almost 5.
Yeah.
It was
They still
a
had stuff in
necessary.
Sagamore Ballroom. They still had stuff in
Oh, yeah.
Monash. They still
Well,
had
Paizo's
stuff.
got Sagamore
Yeah,
probably until the end of time.
That's only part of Sagamore.
They might be able to expand into more, is what I want to know, as crowded as they were.
1 and 2 is owned by Game Day 7. That's where
Right.
the Starship Trooper stuff is.
I see. Okay.
They were the smaller part of the Sagamore Ballroom, but yeah.
Okay.
1 and 2 were that, and then 3 through 7, I think, was all of Pathfinder Society.
They're going to have to expand the exhibit hall every year.
At this rate.
Well, they're not going to do construction to expand the exhibit
No,
hall, but
but-
I mean, there are still. I
There
think
are a
it's going to
few
be
more places they can go.
Well, it's going to be really exciting when they finally get to the 3rd floor, because there's rooms on the 3rd floor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's. I mean, they're conference rooms and things like that, but I mean, there's rooms on the 3rd floor that they can run events in. So they use the 2nd floor for the most part, and they use all of the 1st floor. So
Second floor, there's a lot of artists and the artists.
yeah, they set a lot of panels and stuff like that are on the 2nd floor.
Avital, our resident writer over there, excited about it.
So
But to find rooms that are big enough to be able to do so many of these events that are so big, like, the Pathfinder special, you see 800 people in one seating. That's enormous. So if they ever wanted to make that bigger,
Yeah.
or Starship Troopers might have to move, I don't know, maybe they move
well,
to
and I
the
mean,
floor. It's like, dear Lord, how do you just keep making it bigger and bigger?
it can very easily become like, for example, FDIC, which is the fire department convention that they have here.
Yeah.
It's huge, but the reason it's huge is because they splash it outside of the convention center as well as inside the convention center, which I think, honestly, they're going to have to start doing when it comes to the expansion of, because they're not going to build a whole nother exhibit hall. But
And just a point to make about FDIC, I've gone the last 3 years, and it seems like every year, though, and I could be wrong, but it seems like every year FDIC is getting smaller and smaller.
yeah. Well, I mean, you've got firefighters coming from everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
and it's expensive. I
It's
mean,
not just firefighters, because I've also ran into police officers over there.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just always kind of weird because it's always about firefighters or as police officers call them smoke heads,
Right.
or hose jockeys and all that. But it's just always weird seeing police officers. They're always checking out the new medical equipment they've got coming out for
Yeah.
the EMT trucks and all that. But
I know for a while the firefighters were bigger than GenCon, but apparently we've passed them, and all we have to do is beat the NRA.
that won't be hard.
Be careful.
Yeah, I know. We just have plastic
Foam
ones.
swords.
Yeah, we have foam
And lots
swords
of them.
and pretend guns. Oh,
Right.
A lot of foam swords.
that's right.
Cast magic missile.
Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt.
let's not forget NRA's also got Ted Nugent.
That's true.
That's true.
No cosplayers to distract them.
We've got Will Wheaton.
That does not mean they have consent.
No, but we do have Princess Leia cosplayers in her slave outfit, Return of the Jedi. So
So
I
didn't see any
one.
slave
Not
ladies.
one.
I saw one. I saw one.
okay, I didn't see any slave Leias. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw one who was a slave Leia.
All right. So
Part 2.
part 2, yes. Let's go around and give me your lowest point and how you feel like it can be fixed.
Lowest point.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a bad point, but so go
I
ahead.
know
Derek.
you haven't had time to sit on it, but that was just it. I wanted us to actually be able to get together and like get it off of our heads now, right after the con.
I think my lowest point would have to be. I mean, it's the same thing every year. It's like wash, rinse, repeat. You have a sold out event and then one person shows. But actually, I will say that just dealing with a lot of the crowds in the exhibit hall was probably my lowest.
Oh man, that's right. You had a whole weekend where you could actually like do stuff.
Experience
Had
the
to
exhibit
do
hall.
I had to do stuff. So I've learned that I either have to plan events or I have to run. I can't do the I can't do the friggin' gypsy thing. So
Yeah.
Not a wanderer.
no,
Got
I'm
it.
not.
All right.
And but
At least you know that, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you got an opportunity to experience that, and
and I also know that I have to stay downtown.
yeah.
I can't do the driving thing. I need a place where I can like chill out. That's like right here, within walking distance. A place where I can stage stuff, where I can grab stuff quickly if I need it, where I don't have to run home.
Or have to drive at 90 miles an hour on the highway to get
That's
to it.
right.
I'm completely with you on that. Staying downtown gives it a completely different.
I feel like I'm on vacation at that point instead of going to something.
It'll probably end up being like $500 or something, but
You know, at this point, it's worth it. So, anyways, my lowest 2 points were handling the crowds and having a sold out game, and then having one person show.
I mentioned ILO earlier, and I'm not trying to bash the publisher whatsoever because they have a really good collection of games. This is more of a generic comment. I know that conventions are here, and they're going to have exclusives and specific things you can only pick up at conventions, and I get that, and that's fantastic. But to have a game that's going to release in a month and a half and show up with a limited quantity and not really tell people how many are going to be available each day until that day, and then not telling the people standing in line as soon as you sell out, that's extremely frustrating. We showed up on Friday. We were one of the first probably 400 people in the hall after the VIGs. We're 200 and maybe 200 back in line, maybe 150 back in line. To wait for King of New York because it was released, and they apparently only had 50 copies, 50 tickets to give out, and so those first 50 people were obviously in line. And if that's the only number they had, they should have come and said, "Look, we've given out all our tickets." And it was probably 5-10 minutes into us standing there and then moving the line because the GenCon event reps were complaining about where we were standing. That finally a GenCon rep went to one of these guys and said, "Do you have any more games left?" I said, "No, we just gave out our 50th ticket." And he said, "You need to go to each and every person in this line and ask them if they have a ticket. If they do not, you need to ask them to get out of line because we can't have this line here if you're not going to give them anything."
that's ridiculous.
And I'm not going to put that on the publisher.
Actually, yeah, you can totally put that on the publisher.
I'm going to chalk it up to, and I hate to be, I'm just going to call it like it is. I'm going to chalk it up to they didn't know what they were getting into. Inexperience. Paizo would have known how to handle it.
Inexperience.
Mayfair would have known how to handle it. Wizards would have known how to
Not
handle it.
necessarily a bad thing. They didn't know.
Paizo went through it last year,
Right.
And
they fixed it, and they realized what they needed to do.
The
and
adventure
they-
card game thing. Yeah, I think it was the adventure card game. One of the other games, I don't know.
I think it
Last
was,
year
yeah.
they hit a line,
Right.
and it was they put up a sign. Boom, we are. This is the end of the line. This is the last statement that we have.
Right.
And I think they learned that because the year before that, they didn't know how many they had.
Right.
Because a lot of times those guys in the booth are just volunteers. They don't know how many they have. Really keeping an eye on. We have this number of games.
Communication asset tracking.
Yeah.
I honestly think, because when we were standing, because I was standing with him in the ILO line, in case you can't tell, and when we were standing there, I really was looking at some of the ILO people, and they kind of looked like, bug-eyed, like, train is coming at us at 100 miles an hour, like, oh my God, the line is this long. Like, they really looked like they didn't know what they were doing. So I don't think that they had the training to know, what do you do in this situation? And, okay,
But in the
and how do you clear these lines? How do you move people out of there?
in the same respect, you have to also understand, and I had this conversation with my brother during the weekend. A lot of the people, because he was talking about people who demo and don't necessarily know everything about the game that they're demoing. A lot of the people who are demoing games or who are helping out with booths and things like that have gotten a hold of these companies or they have gotten a hold of GenCon and they want to volunteer.
Right.
A, because obviously they get benefits through a pass and things like that, but also because they are those kind of people who they want to be involved in the creative process of the game, and demoing and things like that is a portion of that.
Right.
So you have those bug-eyed, naive people who have never been in a situation like this,
Right.
and they don't know how to handle it.
And to go back to a comment that you said, Derek, under your breath, technically. You said that this was common sense. That might only be common sense to people with convention experience.
Right. How many of those people may have never done a convention before? But if you're talking about ILO, the company overall,
They should be providing, what Deb was referring to as training.
yeah.
Now, was the statement about the truck being lost or not getting there, was that a true statement?
I have no idea.
That's what one of the yellow shirts, one of the ILO yellow shirts, I'm going to call them, told me when we were standing in line.
They were having
Friday morning.
all sorts
But then-
of not just IL,
Yeah, there were
but
a lot of.
a lot of vendors were having a lot of issues getting their product into the convention because of import problems. Like there were shipments that were being held at customs in Indy.
Yeah, ironically enough, it was one of the promo things that you get in your coupon
Yes.
book.
Yeah.
They said that they couldn't get it because they ended up getting caught ended up getting stuck in customs.
Yes.
TSA?
Yeah, it's because they're being shipped from China.
Yeah, you got to think a lot of these guys use overseas printers to release a lot of this stuff.
Or dice. That's what it was.
So maybe there's a tick for how we can improve is maybe use an American printer.
Well, you have a different cost of Chinese versus Americans, which is quite
I
significant.
understand that.
Order your stuff a month early.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you order it a month or two early? So
even
you
if you
got
get
it.
and even if you get it,
Put it in a van,
cases
and you
your
drive it in a
garage,
van.
and you can use American logistics to get it to where you need to if you need to.
But I'm also going to promote Make in America.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if you cannot afford it,
All right, Deb.
well, so I've already been chiming in with my husband's frustration on ILO because we were kind of in that together. I'm trying to think of other things that really were kind of frustrating to me, and I think it's kind of going to a little bit go back to Derek, but not really. So Saturday was the only day when I felt like, dear God, where did all these people come from? I was just like, and Saturday's always busy anyway with just GenCon without, let's skip the rest of the city, but it's always going to be a huge day. And then you're going out to the food trucks and you're trying to find something, and I was just like, people everywhere, and my introverted little self was just like, go away. So trying to figure out, but we've already had touched on that, of how is GenCon going to handle crowd management in the future? How's the city of Indianapolis? Because honestly, that goes beyond GenCon. Once you're talking about, once you're out in the streets and you've got the food trucks and you've got all that to handle the traffic when you're dealing with a big event and then another big event, and it's all happening in downtown. I don't know. It wasn't one of those, I'm furious, but it was just like, dear Lord, is there an easier way to handle this? Can we do, the food truck lines and on top of, these, I don't know. It just felt like a ton of people on Saturday, which that was when the Colts game was, so I know why. But how do you control that and how do you handle it? Because it's not going to get any easier.
I think, honestly, the best thing that they can do, they already shut down Georgia Street right in front of the convention center.
Right.
The best thing they can do is get a hold of Pan Am.
Yeah.
Because Pan Am Plaza is right there
Yep.
on Georgia Street.
Yep.
The entire courtyard
Yep.
is empty.
Yeah, you're right.
You can fit, honestly, if they wanted to expand exhibitor
Right.
areas
Yeah.
or something, vendors or anything like that.
Right.
Or just put, 150 tables and, 400 chairs out there. That's tons of space that they're not utilizing.
Right.
And you have 70 people sitting on one side of the street, 70 people sitting on the sidewalk on the other side of the street,
Right.
and then you got the 12 tables that they set out for
Right.
people
Yeah.
to sit or stand at.
Right.
And that's great, and that's great for overflow. But like this year, it rained a couple of days.
Yeah.
You're not going to get to utilize that.
Well, you can if you put up portable tents like they do for Ribfest.
Yeah, or put up portable umbrellas up above them.
Yeah, I mean,
if they're big enough.
There's ways for them to facilitate
Or big
the
white-
proper.
big white
Especially
tents.
if it's a GenCon. If it's GenCon doing it or the city of Indianapolis doing it, they have the things that they need to be able to facilitate something like that. So even if they rented out Pan Am Plaza's rink or something like that and turned it into kind of an indoor eating area,
Right.
they could do that. They could do stuff like that. It may just be something that hasn't been brought up to them, or maybe they haven't thought about, and maybe that's something that we as GenCon attendees can kind of make somebody aware, like, hey, this might be a really cool solution to, because then at least the only traffic you have around the trucks are people in line getting food.
Right. And that's fine, because
Take
then
the
you
tables
can,
away,
food
stick them
lines.
in Pan Am Plaza's courtyard.
Right. And so the
There's some
people that are
chairs
lined
with
up all along there
fans, so it's
eating,
cool, and it's like,
along there, because there's no place else to
Yeah.
sit to eat.
Yeah.
So they're just sitting on the walls, basically, which, okay, it probably looks cool to somebody who's never seen it before, but good lord.
Yeah.
Can we have could these people have a seat or maybe something,
Right.
So I think that would be reasonable. So I think that was really my biggest
Okay.
down.
Lance?
A problem I had with, and it's Gen Con rules, it's a lot of convention rules, is if you can't afford a booth to sell your product, but you can afford a table to demo your product or to have tournaments of your game, not being able to sell your game at that point is an issue. Because then you've got people who have played it who they might be interested in taking the game home,
Right.
and you can't do that. So you have to give them your website, which they may or may not get
Order
to.
it.
They may forget, or something else that they can get to will take their time and their money.
Right. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And it sounds like next year the booth prices are going to jump.
Well, yeah. I mean, the downside to that is you're going to have a lot of smaller publishers that may not be able to afford it. The upside is it's going to reduce the amount of people, so that people who are actually really interested in it are willing to put that buck forward. But it's a delicate balance, because even if you're a vendor and you get a booth and you pay whatever, there's no guarantee you're going to make that money back. So I mean, it's always a risk.
So what that might do is that might enlargen the other conventions that are coming to Indianapolis, because we can't afford Gen Con, but we can afford PopCon.
But yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, all the power to companies who have to do that, because obviously we attend those cons too, and we really love that kind of stuff. I would hate for people to be turned away from Gen Con because of the price. But I think that if there are, hopefully there is another vehicle for them to be able to do something like that. So.
It's really difficult if you're selling games, because those pop conventions, they are there for the artwork, the cosplay.
I agree.
And there are no small gaming. I mean, aside from Fear the Con, there's really no small gaming conventions.
I mean,
Here,
there's Hoosier Con.
Okay.
Wait, how big is Hoosier Con? I
They get
200 to 500 people,
I was-
depending on the
Yeah.
year.
Okay. Well, that's almost a moderate sized con. If they get
They,
up to 500.
just moved out to the Wyndham out there off Ronald Reagan
Yeah.
Airplex Parkway, because they needed more room. They didn't even promote it last year because they'd already sold out in the Marriott where they were. They didn't even promote it.
You can see they were at the Clarion last year.
It's a Clarion, that's what, yeah.
I got that sci-fi convention. It's not that big.
In conjunction.
Yeah, I mean it's big because it's been around for a while, but
Oh, you're talking about Starbase India.
That's
Oh,
our
that's-
is a sci-fi gaming convention, is a sci-fi fantasy convention.
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, not, I mean you got in comparison to Gen Con is hardly even.
Well,
any.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, you can't compare.
Right.
Okay, maybe 1,000.
It has a lot of voting people, but
it does, yeah.
That kill every year. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and one thing that has become a phenomenon, and I don't know if every city is like this, if this is unique to Indy, or at least unique to a city like Indianapolis, but we have a ton of dedicated gamers. And not just people who go to Gen Con, but I mean, you go to Indy PopCon, you go to Indiana Comic Con, you go to another number of conventions that happen to be at the convention center, and who's there? The Hoosier Gamer people. There is a game lobby for people to come and play board games and video games and things like that. Indy PopCon did a great job of promoting gaming at a pop culture comic convention, I think. And I find that, to be honest, there's really no reason why you should have to segregate a lot of those things. I mean, if it's a comic book convention, yeah, push the comics. Push the comics movies, push the TV series, things like that. Make that the focus. But that doesn't mean you have to take away you know, if I'm a comic book fan, maybe I like to play Legendary. Maybe I like to play DC Deck Builder.
Well, even
Maybe I like to play Sentinels of the Universe. You know,
even
things like that. It's all
San Diego
very
Comic
similar.
Con.
Yeah.
Geek and Sundry takes over a bar, much like Pathfinder does here with Scotty's. Geek and Sundry takes over a bar to do gaming
But-
during the con because there's no room at the convention center.
Well, but the other thing is too, when it comes to San Diego Comic Con,
It's
that's
no longer
become
just a Comic Con.
It's become a recent phenomenon for them to even have gaming.
I know.
I mean, even Dan from Fear the Boo has said that.
Yeah.
Like, there is, I mean, it's almost non-existent,
Right.
the amount of gaming compared to everything else.
I mean, you have your two major conventions. You've got your popular convention, which is in San Diego Comic Con. You've got your gaming convention, which is GenCon.
Yeah.
So,
Dragon Con.
Dragon Con is party, cosplay,
cosplay.
and they do a lot of seminars and stuff.
Origins.
Like that,
Which, by the way, Mike
Origins,
Mason's played
yeah.
Dragon Con. Found that out yesterday.
He's very excited about it.
So too much to the point that he accidentally called us Dragon Con. It was hilarious.
Nice.
And we all yelled at him. We were like, dude, you're not at Dragon Con yet.
That's right.
It's a little offensive.
And
I
actually,
know I'm really hoping that Fear the Con is not on the same week as
Origins again?
Origins
Yeah.
again.
That'd be
yeah,
terrible.
they need to make sure they get that right. I've got to jump in with another thing that bugged me a little bit. As he said, Mikey Mason. Because we went to his concert at 3 o'clock. Mikey Mason. Mikey Mason did not bug me. Here was the issue. So we walk up, we turn in our tickets. Hey, Mikey, how you doing? And he was having an issue because apparently he was put in Union Station.
Right.
Okay. Anyone who is from Indiana, there's a few of you out there who have been to Union Station, and he was in one of those big, huge, ceiling sounds echo everywhere. And
His area was okay.
well, he should have been put within the room, coming out. He was put right by it, and he was going into the room, which is bad because anyone who knows sound knows this is going to reverb.
That wasn't even the biggest issue.
He was right next to the Gen Con speed dating.
Like it was in the next.
It was in the next room.
Really?
And so when he's doing his sound check, they come out and they're, kind of like, we're having a really hard time hearing. And he was like, I understand. He said, but this is what he does. He's known as the geek comedy rock star.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless they're going to pay him to not play.
Right. And he apparently talked to them like hours before at the front desk saying, you put me in this room and I'm going to be doing a concert and I've got my, he's got his PA system and all this. So I don't know whose decision it was, if it was Union Station's decision or Gen Con's.
So it's a Gen Con
This is a general.
Gen
Yeah.
has,
So maybe
have a
thinking-
list of places they can do stuff, and then they organize it.
Right, but thinking a little bit about
Do it, Derek and somebody else. Derek got engaged to the Hickman breakfast yesterday.
Oh,
I know
okay.
that.
Yeah. So it was quite cute. It was adorable. But someone who, at least in that case, I feel really bad for them because I know Mikey was going to drown out anything that they're talking about in the dating area. And he was like, I'm not moving. He said, this is where I'm supposed to perform. I'm going to do my concert. This is what I'm going to do. And so I felt like, come on, guys, let's be a little more reasonable. If have you been to Union Station? You've probably been to Union Station here to realize, or at least walk around the areas you're doing it and go, let's think a little bit common sense here. Where should we put a concert? Where should we put speed dating? Let's put speed dating in something quiet. Anyway, that was just a little like, really? Why did you?
Yeah, tagging on to that, there was an adult card game that I picked up and I liked a lot, and they had us in one of the rooms in the convention center where a lot of people like to just sit down,
Open gaming.
open gaming.
So there's going to be kids around.
Yes, and every night that we were there, they had to kick them out, and everybody was like, "Well, why are you kicking us out?" Well, it's because
This is an 18 and over game.
Yeah.
and
this
you're
is-
not over 18,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it put
So
the-
logistics, putting people in their proper places.
Right.
After the big hubbub about how this is supposed to be family friendly,
Yeah.
Oh, well, then, for the adult games to
okay.
happen,
Put
Put 'em in a hotel.
a quiet room, in a
That's right.
hotel. Yeah, a quiet hotel.
In defense of Gen Con, and only a little bit, because, they are a 46-year-old, 47-year-old company. But when you have 14,000 events,
there's a limit of how much flexibility.
yeah, you start running out of room. You start running out of room.
not
It's a
not for
scheduling
the not for the after hours stuff. I mean, a lot of the
That's
things
true.
are-
Anything that comes out after about 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
be pretty liberal as to where you put people.
And that could totally go to like one of the hotels, like for a number of years with the anime adult the hentai stuff. That was in a hotel.
Yeah, it was in the Marriott.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they've dealt with these issues before.
Yeah.
They were just apparently brain farting this year.
Yeah. Okay, so
That's right. Ragaar.
So, I would say the thing that irked me the most is the hotel food. The breakfast.
The price, the taste.
I mean, the breakfast they had, it was nice that it was free, but it was really lackluster. Also, as I was running around between hotels, they had little catering events out front. Oh my goodness, the prices were ridiculous.
Yeah.
There was one vendor, and I don't remember which hotel it was, but they were trying to charge $3 for a can of soda.
Yeah. Well, there was at one of the hotels across the street, they were selling like turkey legs and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it was like a $10 turkey leg.
$9 for the turkey.
It was
$9.
That being said, though,
Food truck, $9.
it was $16 for the meal in the bar.
But the turkey leg was the size of your neck.
I understand that. I understand that.
Size turkey.
It was.
I will have to agree with you, Ragaar, because I went and Sun King is the local brewer of GenCon. They are 7 or 8 blocks away from GenCon. I was in the Marriott running an event. I walked downstairs to the bar, bought 1 can, 16 ounces of Sun King, and paid $9. I can buy an entire 4-pack from Sun King for less than $9.
right.
I mean, I was like, this is that won't ever happen again. It won't ever happen again.
Yeah.
I mean, I will
Yeah.
stock the cooler and stick it in my van in the parking garage and go out to my van.
And with the Starship Troopers thing,
Don't listen to me, Matt. I
there
didn't
was
say
a
that.
It's a secret.
there was a break where I had to go grab something to eat. I was starving.
Yeah.
And so I grabbed $7 worth of hot dog.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like,
It almost makes you want to
golly.
run over to the Speedway gas station and buy a hot dog there for $2.
Oh, that's when you were having the hot dog issues later, because then you were going to get indigestion from it.
Exactly.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's 2 for $2.22.
And then I was sitting there, I was like, this was awful, but it was still better than being hungry.
It's true. It's kind of sad.
I had a really good experience with the food truck. I only got food from the food truck once. I had really good experience with the food from the food truck that I got, and it wasn't. I paid $9 and I got a good amount of food, but I mean, I guess maybe on the cheap guy side of things, being that talking about the parking garage and things like that. I mean, paying $9, $10, $16 for food. I mean, we went to Fogo de Show on Wednesday, and I spent $30 and I ate all of the meat my stomach could hold. So
The food trucks are expensive. I mean, you get a little bit.
They're the best price food around here, though.
I mean, unless you're going to Steak and Shake and Noodles and Company all the time.
Right.
I think that's why
Go to the Circle Center food court.
specifically pointing out the restaurants, because the restaurants in the hotels, the prices are not higher, but they're most definitely not. They don't offer a lot of lower priced, reasonable
The quality
things.
is better.
Yeah.
If you go to an actual establishment, even if it's a chain restaurant,
Right.
they have quality standards.
And your service is going to be top notch because those people are working for their tips.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like not get we had to wait 45 minutes for a steak knife event.
Yeah, we're not going to talk.
That being said, Circle City Bar and Grill, thank you for being patient with us and being willing to take that back. We will be back so as long as we find a different waitress.
Yes.
Well, I patronized them the very next day.
Okay.
I got a sandwich.
Fair enough. But
And to expand on that, Micah, we ran into Micah, who was apparently up for 16 hours or 32 hours or something.
An amateur.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'm past those days.
He came over, told us that he went to Steak and Shake, waited for 30 minutes for food, left, went somewhere else, left, and then went to White Castle and finally got food. It's like, why? Why is it so difficult?
Well, okay, Steak and Shake.
Steak and Shake. Oh my god.
We're talking 3 servers on the floor, 2 cooks in the kitchen, and 750 people.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, they're not going to.
And that's not just Gen Con. That's going to be people that work and live all over the
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's during any football. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Poor
Steak and Shake.
Not to mention the Steak and Shake here is one of the highest crime steak and shakes. That's why they have 2 sheriff's deputies.
yeah.
I mean,
Wow, what a
Yeah.
point I never thought would be on my podcast.
That's what happens when you add Matt.
Well, in this case, maybe this is why we need the NRA. I imagine when the NRA is there, not a whole lot of crime is going on, but I could be wrong.
It has to do is just post pictures of Charleston and around the city.
Let's chill.
One other thing I want to ask about is, in Indiana, isn't it a law that you are required to give people who ask for water a cup of water? Like I thought there was something associated with heat strokes.
Restaurants have to.
Restaurants have to. That's what I thought. What
Facilities
about
have to make water fountains available.
what about the food court in the mall? Are they obligated to give you water?
No, because the mall provides it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have water fountains throughout the building. That's all they have to do. They make it
Yeah,
available.
I'm not 100% sure on all that.
Gen Con
I can find
had
out.
the water bottle refill thing.
Yes.
That was great.
Yes.
Well, they have. I mean, the convention center. They're in the convention center all the time.
Are they? Well, then that's a great.
I just wanted to confirm that before I let that one remain.
Yeah.
On the spot. Let's go.
AJ.
So I easy to get lost, and for
How long have you lived here?
about 5 years.
Oh, okay, I'll give you that.
But
If you were going to say you were born here, I was not going to let you get by with that.
for Gen Con, this is my first Gen Con.
Oh, okay.
Yay!
That's right. Well,
New person.
Welcome home.
At least one of the episodes every year so far.
yeah.
Yes, I love it.
So I'm looking at a map. It might as well have been in like Vulcan.
Wait, it's Gen Con. It may well have.
It might have that's true.
That is a good point.
Either that or Klingon.
I'm just looking at it. And I'm standing there for about 20 minutes. And I decide, let me go ask a person. I'm trying to get from hall B to hall B.
Oh wow.
I asked 3
You're in hall. You're in hall D.
Yes, I'm in hall B trying to get to hall B.
I'm so sorry.
3 people. And none of them give me any sort of clear direction.
Walk that way.
Exactly.
Look up. See the D? Follow the alphabet down.
I swear, someone like just stuck their finger in the air and just circled it. Just
That's awesome.
Apparently, they were getting ready for takeoff, and they were trying to signal they were going
Pulling in
to
helicopter.
call in helicopters.
I'm dressed as Deadpool. Deadpool cannot fly.
Right. I mean, not yet. I mean,
Well,
hasn't
yeah.
figured that out yet.
Oh dear.
That's crazy.
Avital.
Me. I'm generally a pretty easygoing person, so. And if you think it's okay, I know you talk about it, but it wasn't really.
We're gonna need you to be opinionated.
Just this one time. It won't be permanent.
I don't know if I really had like any big issues. Really, my only problem was with the convention is that for some reason I was like 3 times as tired this year as last year. I have no idea why. Like,
Yeah, seriously.
why am I so tired? Like, I don't understand.
Saturday starts at like 7 for the killer breakfast and ends so late.
And last year was I want to kill breakfast too. We were gaming like on Saturday night, but it was just.
You know, that's one of the things that I do miss this year.
Yes.
Then we didn't do
Was
it.
that we didn't do it Saturday.
That's because half of us decided to do late night games on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take him to 2 a.m. slot, which is not. Hold on, not his fault. That's almost.
No, I chose that slot.
I know that,
I was the
but
one who put that up.
They are. You request a certain set of slots. They say this is what you have available. These are what you're going to get.
Right.
So that's why you requested that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I canceled 3 on the house.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm with you. But
Yeah, I think that.
my only request is someone else organize it. I do enough for the organization. Someone else can organize it.
Yeah, because it turns into something so big so quick. We have a microcon without even trying at Gen Con.
30 people show up at this place and see if we can get together 3 games.
Yeah, that's literally what happened last year, probably.
It was.
It was fun, but it's trying to coordinate. Where are we at? Who's coming? What room? Wait, now half of us have to go to this room, and then half of that group has to go to this room, and who's getting food? And she left, and she's got
If it
this.
was closer, I could organize something at Bonnie's Hotel, but I just don't want people to have to walk 3 blocks.
Yeah.
I'd rather walk 3 blocks than not be able to do something.
Okay, well, I'll see what I can do for next year.
Because you're walking that far just to go to the mall.
True.
Yeah, it's just
That's
past
true.
the mall, so.
Yeah. Good point.
Matt?
Okay, so
I know one without Matt even saying it. Sitting on the bench last night, waiting for mom and was it brother to finish playing werewolf.
AJ, actually.
He was falling asleep on that thing. Boy,
Like so slap happy and out of it, I just kind of said like,
that's right. With his chain hat on and no gun in his holster, I was like, Matt,
Did you have one when you
Matt,
started?
that's exactly what I asked him. I said, Matt, do you realize your holster is empty? And he was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, is it supposed to be? He goes, yeah. I was like, all right. He goes, I'm not that careless. I said, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying it's empty.
You're tired.
It would have been better if you had the shirt that said, I'll be in my bunk.
other than that, like, we actually quiet, sat down on that bench and just started to crash and fall asleep. I was actually wandering around after the little Black Warrior game, and just walking around, like, again, GenCon is supposed to be family friendly. I'm not sure if the convention center considers e-cigarettes to be actual smoking, but I saw several people doing that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, should be doing that outside.
Right, 8 feet away from the building.
That's not
My
happening.
understanding, though, I thought that's what the
It's
law
not.
was.
It
Well,
is.
that's for a regular cigarette.
And
That's for a
Even that, I know that was violated too.
There's no law about e-cigarettes yet. Because there was a guy in one of my demos right next to me in the whole thing.
There's no state law. It's basically if it's a privately owned business, or if it's against company policy because e-cigarettes haven't been FDA approved, then they can tell customer or patrons to not smoke indoors.
Either way, I know that cigarette 8-foot rule was violated. I'm positive of it because I was trying to walk across the street and I start choking to death. Not really. I'm here, but everyone's like, do you need water or
But it was
something?
so close.
Because people will just step outside the door,
Right.
stand by the door and just smoke.
Right, and so, do you have your albuterol inhaler with you? No, I didn't think people were going to be smoking because I thought they'd be following the law. Stupid me.
I think some signs, just some regular signs.
Signs all over.
There are signs.
11.
It's people.
They have to have.
Exactly. I mean,
I remember being one of those people being like, man, I'm not going to go stand all the way over there. There's a cash tray right here.
There's not a whole lot that GenCon themselves.
But then I quit smoking and I don't like people like that anymore.
Well, and Matt might be able to clue us in a little bit better on this, but I doubt a police officer is just going to walk over and give you a citation just because you're standing there smoking a
No, if
cigarette.
anything, they would if they're like real quick, but
Yes, honesty.
usually they just be like, hey, put that out. It's kind of like when I was also in the gaming hall there last night. There was someone drinking out of a brown paper bag, which of course that piques my interest. Hey buddy, what are you drinking? Oh man, this is cheap wine that I got. I don't think they serve that here. Don't think you're allowed to drink it. Why don't you go dump it out? Well, who the hell are you, man? Oh, well, it's funny that you asked that because dump it out.
Buddy, did you ask that?
Oh, hey.
You have a real badge. This ain't cosplay.
Deer headlights. She was like, Get up, there's a bathroom there, you can dump it out, you can fill a bottle away. All right, man, thanks for being cool about it. Yeah, no, it's just don't drink here.
I mean, it's one thing if you're in a hotel room or something like that. But you're in the middle of the convention center. It's a public area.
Last year, I saw they had like uniformed officers came in several times on different nights. I was actually doing late night gaming. You know, they just kind of came in one time, make sure everything's cool, and they go something else. This year, I didn't see any.
Yeah, I think that has to do with I don't know whether it's the convention center themselves that have to set up that like IPD fits or whatnot.
Most of them are off duty.
I know. There have been GenCons in the past where the officers and stuff like that have been a lot heavier than others. Like this year was pretty relaxed when it came to security and stuff
Well,
like
that
that.
also could have been with the cold stuff.
I was going to say, yeah, there was a Colts game, and they usually post a few of them over off of Georgia Street now that they close it down too.
Right.
So they probably figure, well, they're on Georgia Street. If there's an emergency, they can get into the convention
And I did
center
see
there.
a cop in the convention center
Yeah.
late at night.
Yeah.
So,
And of course they have, and I will say, you know, having worked security for the convention center, they had a lot of security guards, which was nice. I mean, it was. I mean, if there is an emergency, I know for from experience. No, those guys aren't like armed security or anything like that. They, probably don't even know like karate or whatever. But
A 92-year-old woman that's checking badges? No.
Yeah, I'm thinking not so much.
But my point is, most of those guys are trained to be first responders in that if there is an emergency, they know where to go to communicate to somebody to get somebody in there to fix the problem.
Well, I can tell you, having done event security for 6 years, that I mean, granted, it was 4 different companies, so I don't exactly know what their typical policies are when it comes to how they run their events, and how they run their staffing. But I know with me, it was essentially like even in regards to people that were smoking outside. We could have said something to them, but when it comes to anything beyond that, we have to have the police involved. Because if they refuse to smoke, then obviously we could, have the police involved. But we can't physically do anything about it when it comes to stopping them. Aside from telling them to leave.
So one of the other things that was brought up when the CEO stepped up and did that big announcement was they're trying to direct people to find black shirts, the event staff, and to report anything. But if there's a concern, an issue, don't do it yourself. Report it to the event staff, and they'll triage the situation.
Because what the event staff will do is they'll get a hold of in-house security, and in-house security will deal with it.
And in the same respect, the insurance that GenCon LLC carries probably instructs them that they need to go through the process of the staff have to be responsible. They're not going to make a patron responsible under the insurance of this. I mean, they'll still have liability, but it's this is the limitation.
Going back to the black shirts, that was one thing I really appreciated when I brought my daughter for the first few hours of the first day. The people that gave us our armband for her pointed to a person with a black shirt with a red GenCon and said, if you get separated from your mom and dad, find someone wearing this shirt. Don't talk to anybody else. Talk to somebody with a black GenCon staff shirt. They will get you back to your mom and dad. I really like that.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing, and it's nice to see that security is definitely a priority in a situation like this when you have 50,000 people and there are several families. It's easy. That's one thing that my wife and I have dealt with in the past, and I think several of us are either in the process of dealing with or will eventually be dealing with having kids at GenCon. But it can be a daunting task to keep an eye on not only your stuff, but also your children, because they have their own legs. And if we weren't made
You can't glue them in one
then things would be a lot easier because we would just roll everywhere.
Just put glue on the bottom. You're glued there. You can't move.
But I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's nice to have a system where if something happens, there is someone who is responsible for making sure that that problem is resolved.
And that's why I think that the police might have been less pronounced this year. It's because I could see the GenCon saying that we want to take a more active role in this ourselves.
And maybe, and very well maybe.
And it could be a cost thing too, having private security versus.
Well, yeah, you pay premium cost for off-duty security. That is definitely the truth of the matter on that. So, Prime?
Low point? As far as
Lack of sleep.
that's pretty much what I was going to say. Just how exhausting it is to cosplay. I love the fact that I cosplayed, but
Good.
This was your first year, too.
yeah, and then we did a 2-hour photo shoot outside in the humidity, and I was black.
You guys look good. You look really good,
I
but
mean, at the end of the day,
Gage was like, what's wrong with that?
He was doing a dark elf, not blackface.
I don't even know how to respond.
I love it.
I know. Let's go find a black shirt.
I'm right here.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm not even going to put a disclaimer on that.
please don't sue us. Anybody, we love everybody.
That's true.
Comedy is black guy with a roof.
That's right.
We need to make a WAV file of that.
Yeah, we do. Keep that prominent. That's soundboard.
That's on the soundboard. Wow. That's right.
And this is why you listen to the established.
Yeah, that just
You never
happened.
know what's going to come out of our mouth.
There should be a starburst on the actual website.
It should.
This company, black guy.
It sounds like this. Okay.
So yeah, that was the
Just
thing.
have it, just Don, just in the episode, they say that again.
Done. I'm pretty sure that would have been the established fact anyhow.
Hitter Democrat.
That's right. Anyhow, so kind of closing us out. Oh, go ahead. We're done.
Sorry.
I thought you said go ahead.
Well, you might have been done, but
I'm done with you.
I'm doing with you.
so anyways, there was that, and then from the aspect of what GenCon could do specifically is when you go to refund generic tickets, instead of having to scan every single individual ticket,
Ooh.
just manually put in a number of this is how many generic tickets are being refunded and then put it into the account, instead of having to deal with a scanner that's going to take you 30 minutes to scan 20 tickets.
Well, that's the problem with the scanner. That each ticket has a unique ID. They have to refund each one. Each one they sold, they have to refund it. That's
generic?
That's the same way it's done in every shopping everywhere. If it has a UPC code, which is what that is, they have to refund that individual one.
From a technology standpoint and kind of a business standpoint, I can understand why they're doing that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's annoying.
I've done other places like I don't know Walmart where I've had a multitude of different or a multitude of the same product, and they would scan one product and type in how many got scanned.
Because UPC codes.
I don't see how that would be.
UPC codes are not unique. They are unique to the product, not unique. Like it's not like
That means I could have 6 of your generic tickets,
Right.
and they wouldn't know.
each individual ticket has a unique identifier, so they have to refund that one. Is it the smartest technological move on that? No, probably not. They probably could have made the generic tickets have one identifier, but
Yeah.
it's just to keep. I will not gripe about GenCon's system right now because it's the best it's run in years. In terms of
Well, I mean,
tickets.
but it's
When you're trying to get a refund and you just want your money back and you
I'll
lost
agree
half an
there.
hour.
I'll agree there.
Beep, beep. I mean, come on now. Can I go play a game? I'll be back when you're done scanning.
With generics, are they tied to your badge or to your name?
They're tied to whoever purchased it.
If they were all non-unique numbers, then I could just steal somebody else's tickets.
No, you can do that
They
anyway.
were all unique numbers.
you can use somebody else's tickets.
You can't get right.
But I couldn't refund them.
What he's saying is, if I steal 50 of your generic tickets, I trade them in. You're going to get that money, not me.
If it's all a generalized number, but it's different for each account,
It's like those.
then it would still be equally as effective on that.
Yeah. Because I'm actually, this is because I'm a geek. I'm pulled out our generic tickets and I'm looking at them right now, and they are tied to his name. It says attendee, and it's Joshua Demaree on there. And so he's now messing with his technology. So we'll get back to you as they're all different numbers. They're all different numbers.
Well, yeah, I figured that one out.
Well, yeah.
I don't understand. I just think there could be a more efficient way of.
Yeah, the numbers are up there at the top too. So yeah.
You good?
We'll talk to Tracy Hickman and he'll.
Yeah. This is the next step. Can you fix
His
this?
next piece of his product will be pre-refunding.
That would be awesome.
It's called pre-fund.
No, it's pre-refunding. You would refund it before you want to.
That's like a horrible system.
Just set up a virtual line for refund.
Yeah, set up a virtual line for refund. Put your ticket number in because it's on there.
I already
There is a
know
number.
I'm not
Put
gonna go
that
to
in.
this event.
And if you pre-register for the pre-refunding, you get something.
An exclusive.
George Tails coin.
only have 50 of them.
And then we'll get an achievement. You don't know what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
So bad. So bad. I would have to say if there was
I'm done.
a little bit. If there was anything that I would want to change that was kind of a negative, and again, like I do every year, I don't mean to say that GenCon is horrible because of these things. These are things that either we individually want to change about our GenCon experience, or that we feel like would be a something that might be considered a highlight if it's fixed or changed when it comes to GenCon next year. But for me, and he's going to laugh at me, but I totally understand Derek's pain. Because
You've now been there.
yeah, it sucks. I love running games, and I had a really, really good time. Met some really fun people running my games. I got to play maybe one game with my wife the entire weekend. So it sucks because I don't get a chance to spend that time that I normally would, especially because we cosplay on Saturday. And this year, we had the bright idea to take a 2.5 hour photo session at the end of the afternoon into the evening.
You guys are crazy. I mean, I love you,
I
but
was exhausted at the end. I was like I'm so glad that I was blessed with the opportunity to run into you guys in the Mayfair gaming area. Because Josh goes, "Hey, are you ready for your game at 10 o'clock?" What? Oh yeah,
the one we're coming to?
of course I am.
Absolutely. I am lying.
I mean, because I was just so, my brain was so shot. Now, luckily for me, having the opportunity, and introverts are going to laugh at me, having the opportunity to sit down with a crowd of people, by the time I got done running, I was jacked up. I was ready to go. Because I had spent 2.5 hours by myself. I was like, this sucks. I hate it.
No, it doesn't.
I want to go crazy.
Don't listen to him.
So, I mean, like, no, seriously, like, I was exhausted when I walked into that room. I'm sitting there, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to get through this game? And then it was like, there was a Pathfinder game that was closing up, and I started talking to those guys. They got real jacked up about that, and there was a couple other people, and then slowly people from my game started trickling in, and by the time the game started, I was ready. I was super excited about it, and I had fun. But I think for next year, I'm probably going to limit my days that I'm running games, especially because I also did interview stuff today for our podcast, and we'll be releasing a lot of that stuff. I know Debbie did too. So, and I really want to make that a point to do that kind of stuff, because I think it's fun exposure for other people. It's exposure for us. You guys get a chance, if you've never been to Gen Con, but you listen to us, to kind of experience the things that you didn't get to experience in hopes that you'll be here next year. But I think if I'm going to do that, and I'm going to dedicate time to cosplay, then my Thursday and Friday, I've got to just say, you know what? These are my days for myself. These are my days to have fun at my con.
Yes.
And then these days are the days that I'm going to run stuff, or I'm going to do interviews, or I'm going to do cosplay and things like that. So, and it was definitely a learning experience for myself, and I think next year, having that 2020 hindsight vision, for next year, I'm going to, especially because I'm becoming more and more inclined to want to use Google Calendar and things like that. It will help me kind of put together a format for, okay, babe, I love you. I'm not going to see you after 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday because of this.
And then the other nice thing about the Google Calendar stuff is, if one of my events gets canceled or I end up,
You can check the calendar and go, oh, Josh is going to be here for this game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I mean, I've used it several years now to know where I need to be.
Right.
And it reminds you.
Yeah.
And if you got a couple, I find it invaluable because many times Josh and I are doing totally different things because we have different things that we're interested in, and so I can look at my calendar and be like, okay, I know he's in. I think he's True Dungeoning. Wait, has he started True Dungeoning yet? And it's right there. Deb, Mayfair, Josh, True Dungeon. Okay, awesome. So I know what's going on.
We did a True Dungeon run. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
We did a True Dungeon run on Saturday morning. And our dungeon run was at 11:26. And I got there 2 hours early because I totally forgot what time we were supposed to.
Better that than the other way, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I show up at the end of it. Hey, that was a really good time. We survived. What? Yeah, exactly.
I wanted the XP.
Exactly. I think if I have any other complaint, and I just thought about this, in the room that I was gaming in, and I don't know if every room is like this, and it is not GenCon's fault. It is GM's fault for this. So this goes out to all you people who run events. So the volume is one thing, but when you have a small room with 8 tables and you have 50 people packed in there, it's hard.
Completely understandable.
But I was in the Santa Fe boardroom at the Marriott, running all of my events. All of my events were there, which was convenient because I knew exactly where it was, and I knew how long it would take me to get there, so I could kind of time when I was going to get there and stuff. But when you register for an event and they tell you where your table is, and you show up and there's another party of people setting up their game at your table, that is annoying.
Yeah.
To no extent. Like,
especially when there's a map of the room right outside
there's a
the
map
room.
of the room outside of the room that has the numbers for the tables, and yet people just decide they're going to take whatever table is available. Well, unfortunately, that's not how the system is meant to work.
In defense of that.
None.
In defense of that may not be the GM's fault because the tables get exchanged and that sort of thing as time goes on. The other thing is those maps you guys were mentioning are like 9 times out of 10 completely jacked because during my bunnies game they had the rooms swapped on the map.
Yeah.
So
That's helpful.
Well, that's also not GenCon's fault. That's the hotel or whoever's running that event. But yeah.
no, that was GenCon's fault because they printed out the map of
Okay.
That happened with the Mist Runner game. When we got there, the other table had went over their time.
Yeah.
So me and the guys I was there with sat down at a different table. The GM got there and was like, well, that's their table. We'll just sit here for the moment. And then everybody at our table got there. So it's like, well, since the entire table's here,
You gotta start running.
And you're already past your time at that point, probably.
I'd like to throw a bonus one out.
Okay, one more.
Because this goes out to the player that was in your game last night. Nate.
Oh yeah.
I saw this personally this year. You would have one person in a group of 3, like 3 friends, or maybe a spouse and a kid or something like that. One of them would have a real ticket, and then the other 2 would have generics. So they would come to the table, which would be full, except for obviously the guy with a real ticket would have a seat,
Right.
and then the other 2 wouldn't.
Right.
And then all 3 would leave.
Then all 3 of them need to have tickets.
Right.
Get all 3 of them a ticket for the event, and look at that.
And on the other side,
Generics are not a guarantee you get into anything.
but when you're buying tickets, make sure, because there's a checkbox right at the bottom. Only add if you can get them all as you're buying the tickets on the website. Make sure in those situations that you either if you're going to do that, and it's like I'm only going to play this game if I can get all of them. Make sure that is unchecked, or that it is checked. Otherwise, make sure you communicate and don't expect them to allow you to play in. If you don't have a ticket, don't expect to get in. It's just
Right. If you get in, it's a bonus. If you don't, you have a
I did like what the guy tried to suggest to you about the premise of 6-player games allowing 2 more to make up for when people are idiots at other games. I thought that was because you can take those generics and fill in the spots where people bailed on the other game.
Yeah, and in some cases you can do that with certain adventures.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah, if you got a 9-year-old and yours is going to have more adult-oriented content.
Well, that's in the description.
It is in the content? Okay.
That's on the people signing up if they don't.
Okay.
But on the flip side of that, if you have a ticket for an event and you know you're not going to make it, try to give your ticket to someone that can go, or you just dismiss it or use it as a generic.
Yeah.
Don't use it as a generic. Go to your event.
Don't
Return it and take the credit by a friggin' generic.
Right. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we want to thank you guys so much for hanging out and listening to our review show of GenCon 2014. We look forward to GenCon 2015. Of course, we've got a whole 4 months before we even get to 2015, but there's still a lot going on. We've got a lot of really cool content for you guys that's going to be coming out soon. Definitely look for our new episode recordings and things like that. And I hope you guys had a great con. And if we didn't get a chance to see you or talk to you this year, then hopefully we will see you either at AwesomeCon in October or at one of the other number of conventions that are coming in 2015 here in Indianapolis. If you went to Gen Con, even if you didn't go to Gen Con and you have a story about Gen Con or something like that, make sure you get on our Facebook page or our website and leave a comment, leave an email, something like that for us, so that we can see how much of an experience or how much of a good experience that you might have had,
Or what the low points were.
or what your low
did you have
points
some
were.
issues?
Absolutely.
Another thing I'd like to see some listeners do, if any of you guys are out there and care to want to try this, many people have laptops with webcams or webcams on their desktops, whatever that may be. Go on YouTube, record something. YouTube's a great way to do it. Going to record just a video snippet or whatever. Give us your opinions and share the link on our Facebook page.
Video feedback.
Even if it's a rebuttal for something that you don't necessarily agree with, that we might have,
I'm still
Or
waiting
correct us. I got corrected on some comic book stuff.
I'm still waiting on Caleb Jensen to tell me his 4th edition
we got-
feedback.
Yeah.
That he swears he can defend, but he still hasn't given it. Oh, and that special shout out to Caleb. He's been posting a lot of pictures on our Facebook page of the Gen Con experience. So share your pictures, share your comments. We want to know them all. And tell us we're stupid if we have to.
Yeah.
Of course, because they're always listening.
Always.
Yes.
Both Paizo and Watsy.
Yes.
I'm actually going to give love to Watsy.
Really?
They had a good con.
Sure.
They had a good con. They did. I did not agree with them charging $50 for the player's handbook, but other than that, they had a
Wait,
good
was
con.
it wrapped in leather?
No, there was no
Wrapped
leather.
in leather?
No.
There was also no dragon hide armor around it.
You go to the Cool Stuff Inc. booth who had a stack of them, they were charging $40.
40.
They were the size of the $40
How much is the Pathfinder core?
50. And it's 400 plus pages.
How much is the D&D core?
The player's handbook was 50.
Okay, sure, 50 and 50.
You all out there can't see me. I'm doing physical, like showing with my fingers how thick the Pathfinder core rulebook is versus D&D.
With the player's handbook alone.
It's not the Pathfinder, it's the players on the dungeon.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm telling you why they did it.
Well, but I have to give them
make
love
money.
because
Money.
they were at both at the panel that I was so excited to get to. The Guernsey 3-sided die. Both Watsy and Paizo were there. So I have to give them shout out.
All right.
And shout out to Pathfinder winning 10 Ennies. 10 Ennies is what they won. Yeah, they kicked tail at the Ennies. So Pathfinder loved them because they did awesome.
And Monty Cook.
Yeah,
Very successful there.
Yes.
Dreamsguard Press, I think, which just bought a book for them. I think they actually were up for an award as well. So
Yeah.
the Indies went over well. Sorry if Fear the Boot still doesn't like them.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all right. I'm going to nominate them for a podcast just because I can.
I'm totally forgetting who our podcast winners were. I know the Numenera one was on there, and I'm totally forgetting who the winners were, but congratulations to them.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Hopefully we'll be in the fight again next year.
We weren't even in the fight this year.
Just because we were scraping at the gutter doesn't mean we're fight.
Anyhow, we leave you with a goodbye, and thank you so much for coming to Gen Con, or at least getting a chance to experience it through our podcasting. And with that being said, we have one last note.
This company was like that.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody from Gen Con.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit catholicpress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus!